Now that I have my sketch that I want to make into a surface, I'm going to select the sketch, and from the surface ribbon, I'm going to create an extruded surface. I'm going to rotate around. I want my surface to go the other way, so I'm going to flip it, and I would like it to come completely through this part. So that distance of 100 thou will work just fine. I'll accept that. So next, I'm going to need to create several surfaces to cut with. I'm going to cap the ends of this. So the first thing I'm going to do to make it easier is I'm going to expand these. I'm going to select the solid body and I'm going to hide it. So now I can just focus on capping these surfaces. So now I want to create a planar surface on this end. So I'll select planar surface and I'll select all these edges. And I'll right click to accept that. I'll create another planar surface. I'll just zoom out and back in on this one, on this end. So again, I'm just going to select the edges, working my way around the part, right click to accept that, then I'll fit this geometry to the screen. Next, I'm going to turn the visibility of my solid back on. So I have those to cut with. I need to create another plane here and knit them all together. So one more time, I'm going to start with this face. I'll look normal to it. I'll select this face because I want to create another planar surface here, a very simple rectangle. I'm going to tell it I want to sketch here. And just choose the rectangle tool. I'm going to zoom in on this area where I want my rectangle. And all I really want is a rectangle that will encompass these two tabs that I want cut out. So I can push escape to stop creating the rectangle. I'm going to make it a little larger this way. Again, I'll zoom out. I'll make the origin and the center of the rectangle vertical. And I'll add some dimensions which don't do anything other than hold this in place. So the sizes are irrelevant. I just want it larger than the part. I have my fully defined sketch now. I'll exit the sketch. Sketch is still selected, and I'll tell it I want that to be another planar surface. I'll say OK. And once again, I'm going to hide the solid body. And now I can see what I've done, and what I need to do is knit and trim these surfaces. So first I want to trim this little section out of this planar surface. So I'm going to choose Trim Surface. I'll use the standard trimming. So my trimming tool will be that surface, and I'm going to tell it I want to remove this section. I'll right click to accept it. So now I have it removed. I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to trim, standard, I'll clear that. So my trimming tool is now this surface, and I'm going to tell it I want to remove this. I'll right click to accept it, and we're good. So now I want to knit the surfaces together. I'll select knit surface, I'll just window select all my surfaces. There's no gaps, that's great. I'll say OK, and I have a knit surface. The last thing I want to do is I want to add some small fillets around this edge. So I'm going to select fillet. Go to just a regular fillet. I'll make my size 30 thou. And I'll tell it I want to fillet around this edge and around this edge. And I'll say OK. So my final surface is now called fillet. And I'm going to use that surface to separate this into two parts. To do that, I'm first going to show my solid body. Here we can see where it overlaps. So if I take a close look, I might have a problem where it touches here. I may need to go back and fix this and just offset this surface a couple of thou towards this part. But let's see how this one cuts first. So I'm going to tell it I want to cut with the surface. So it asks me which surface. I'll select this one I've knit together. And the arrow points in the direction of the cut. And I'm going to need to do this twice. One time I'll remove this body and just leave this, and the other time I'll remove this body and just relieve this one. So I'll accept that. And now we can see what I'm left with is this body. I'm just going to hide the surface, So there's my body that will push into the other one, and if I zoom in, I might want to rethink this fillet. But it will work. It'll even 3D print. It just won't be very nice here. And I have a bit of an issue here. So I really should play with these, but this is how I will separate them into two solid bodies. And at this point, I want to save this solid body. So I'm going to say File, Save As, and I'm going to give it a new name. And I'll save that. And then I want to edit my cut. So I'm going to select the cut, edit feature. I'm going to flip the direction, say OK. And now I have this part with the holes cut in it and the fillets. Again, I would go back and I would edit my surfaces first so that the other cut looks nicer. But I also need to save this as a new name. So I'm going to come up, Save As, give it a different unique name, and then I can combine them later as an assembly. And the last thing I need to do is now figure out how I'm going to split this into two parts.